Welcome to LinkedIn Sites with Geoffrey Klein. Thanks for being here, and thank you to Claudia for being here. I'm so excited to have you. Knowing all the different things you do is fascinating, and I'm really curious to have this conversation with you. So let's start with the easy part. So who are you, and what do you do?
Okay, hi, how are you? Good morning, everyone. My name is Claudia Noriega-Bernstein. I'm an abundance coach, and I'm also an author, among other things. But that's pretty much what I do.
And just so I'm curious, in the concept of an abundance coach, so what is the problem that you're solving for people?
I don't solve the problems for people. Let's start from there. What I do is I help them figure out the blocks that they have to achieve what they want in life, to achieve the life that they would like to have. So we go through a process of finding out first what they want and then why they want that, because that's a very important part on when you want to discover the life that you want to have is the why. What's fueling you to achieve that life. So there is a lot of things that are storage in our brain, like limited beliefs that stopped us to achieve that life. So I help them kind of like an onion peel, layer by layer by layer, until we find the core of the trauma or the blocks or the walls they have created, and that's what's stopping them to move forward and have the life of abundance that they deserve.
I love it, and I think we can all use support and help to get there. Sometimes we don't even know what it is that's keeping us from those limiting beliefs, and help someone out with that. And my mother and my wife are both coaches, so I'm very familiar with the fact that you don't really solve the problems as much as facilitate them to get to where they need to go.
Right,
And
and
I
it's
think
and it's and it's an ingredient of empowerment when you, on your own, in a way, find what it is that you need to do. I mean, you cannot make anybody do anything. So when you are aware that those are the steps that you need to take, then you're more willing to take those steps because nobody's forcing you to do it. So I think it's very important to be transparent when you are with a coach and say, okay, this is where I am, not create excuses, not be in a victim place, not point the finger to somebody else, just own it, hey, this is where I am in my life right now. I'm not happy. I need to make some changes.
Yeah, and I think again, one of the things that I hear the term of is someone coachable. So, is there kind of an ideal client that you look for? Are there certain people that you've found that you can help more than others? Who's your kind of avatar of the people you help most?
Well, I start with my family, and they usually tell me, "Don't coach me." Sometimes I go either to my kids or my husband, and they're like, "Don't coach me." I do it all the time. Even if I'm in the grocery store, I would approach somebody, or even the cashier. If I feel there's the person is having a bad day, it takes so little just to connect with somebody. But my ideal, if you want to call ideal client, is somebody who's going through a transition, somebody who's stuck and doesn't know how to take the next step. So that's what we were saying before. They need to want to have that change. So they reach out and they say, okay, I am in this place in my life, or I just finished a relationship, or I want to change my career. I want to move to another state. I want to have a better relationship with my family. I want to fix whatever issues I have in my relationship with my husband, whatever it is, because abundance comes from different places. Abundance is not having 2 more cars or a bigger house. So you have to first come to terms with what is missing in your life and why that is missing. If you have everything, why you feel that there is a void, there is an emptiness in your life. So the ideal client is the person who is willing to do the work to achieve that result that they're dreaming about, and they hope that one day they will have, but they don't know how to get there.
Yeah, it's important. I think again that they have to be willing to do the work. I think a lot of people engage with the coach and think it's some sort of magic wand that's going to make everything better. And anything worth doing requires effort, requires work. Sometimes people make it look easy that when they're successful, and they don't realize there's a lot of work that went into doing the things behind the scenes. And I think that's professional personal development is certainly no exception in terms of the need. And I found what a good coach can do is help you along that process, keep you accountable, and help you identify those things that are keeping you stuck. And I think that's really important.
But you
There are a
also
lot
have
of
to be vulnerable, Jeffrey. You also have to be in a place where you have to own what you did.
Mhm.
You have to be not
That's
only
hard.
transparent, and I can hold you accountable, but if you're not vulnerable and you don't go, you know what, that was my responsibility, and I have
Mhm.
to say I'm sorry, starting from yourself. That's the first person you have to apologize is yourself, because that's the most important relationship you have. So once you are in alignment with yourself and you hold yourself accountable for the decision that you have made, then you can make the next step to fix all the other relationships in your life.
Yeah, because if you're blaming someone for everything, then you're not owning it, and then you're not going to be able to move on because you can't control
Right.
others. You can only control yourself. And so you have to. I love that.
Yeah.
So in business, I think it's important to have resources and ways to help you. Can you think of a business book or a podcast that you think is worth the time investing in it?
I personally like two that I discover and I enjoy very much. One is Ebb and Flow, because it kind of tells you that, after a bad thing, a good thing can come up. And the other one is with Sarah Elkins, Your Story Doesn't Define You. A lot of times we live our life and we carry that baggage of what we thought or we want to think we are, and everything that happened to us instead of for us defined us. So sometimes I hear people talking about their story and they have it memorized, And then when I was 5 years old, my father abandoned me, and then my mom was an alcoholic, and then my first husband beat me up, and da 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 da. And they have all these, you know, um, chapters of their story that they have memorized, and that's what defined them,
Mm.
and that's it. This is who I am, and nothing is going to change because I'm doomed. But I love the Your Story Doesn't Define You, because I don't even believe that your past defined you. You have the
Mm.
opportunity to create that life that you want every single day. You just have to want it. You just have to make that choice. And every time you go back to your old um, ways, then have the courage to shift and say, I'm going that direction. I know where it's going to end up. I need to course correct. I always say God allows U-turns. So why don't you allow yourself a U-turn and say, this was not the path I wanted to take. I'm going to make a U-turn. I'm going to try again. And this time I'm going to use the lessons that I learned by not achieving what I wanted, and apply them so then I can get a better result.
Yeah, it reminds me of two things. When you were talking about the story not defining you, I was thinking about whatever story you have up until this moment is what's happened, and it's about now you get to write the next chapter. What do
Right.
you what is it you want to write?
Right.
Um, and it's really important, I think, for people to recognize like whatever has happened is may have influenced you, but you get to make that choice now about what it is. And then the other thing, there's a phrase I always like, which is you either win or you learn.
We
And so
learn.
using those lessons
Yes,
learned, I think is a
exactly.
wonderful way to approach it. Um, I look at this, you're turning this kind of from a personal perspective, and I'm interested in your perspective on brands out there that you think do a good job of telling their stories. So is there a brand that you admire?
You know, I don't know if it's so much about the story, but I am always in awe with Amazon. In a way, and I'm going to tell you why. We live in a society of instant gratification, and Amazon had found a way of fulfilling that instant gratification, and in a way has created an addiction. to the cost, in every customer. It's like, I want this and I want it tomorrow morning. I don't want to order it somewhere else and wait 3 weeks for that. I want it tomorrow morning. And if I don't like it, I can return it. And it's like, I mean, imagine if life would be like that. I mean, you get
Well,
married. I don't like it. I'm going to return you. You get a teenager
I'll tell
that
my
is a
wife
pain
that
in
she
the
has that
butt.
option.
I don't like it. I'm going to return him. So I admire the way they have connect with a society that is fueled by instant gratification. I'm very clever.
Yeah, it is very clever. What I find interesting, if you look at their story and how they started, they started back as just selling books. And what I've read about them and heard about them is that, when they started to add these other categories, they would lose money for a while. So they were actually the opposite of what they now provide, which is that instant gratification.
Right.
They, as a company, were patient enough to to build that audience, to build that community, that now they can provide that to us. And I think I love it. You order something.
Right.
I mean, the fact that you can order something and have it that day is remarkable.
That day and night. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
And I think it's about, and what I think about is that they really are considering what the customer wants. They're very much, Amazon is not talking about how great they are. They're talking about, what do you need? We got it, and we'll get it to you.
But it's a big difference between wanting and needing, though, because
that's a different question.
Right, the way they present things is like, I want it. It's not necessary you need it. I mean, my daughter bought a juicer. We have a juicer at home, but it's like, this is my juicer. Okay, but we have 2 juicers at home. Or you need a label that says your name. But it's this ownership, I can buy whatever I want to, and I can have it tonight if I want to. It's crazy how they work our mind to make us believe that we actually need something that we perhaps don't need. We just want it.
Yeah, I think there's sometimes that's the cleverness of a brand, is making you think you need something that really you just want. It's quite a little powerful trick. So we're this is a LinkedIn, origin series. Can you name a LinkedIn connection you're glad you have, aside me, of course?
Duh. I like, I have a lot of really wonderful people that I have met. And to be honest with you, I was not connected in LinkedIn for a long time. And when I published my first book, I started connecting with more people. But Veronica Meter is one person that we have become very good friends. She's amazing as a person, not only as a professional. So I'm super glad to have met her. And like her, I have a couple of other people, that has enriched my life. And even though we have met in a platform like, LinkedIn, we text each other. I can reach out to them for feedback. I can send them a podcast that I did or whatever, and I know they're going to give me an honest feedback. And it's great, to be able to connect with professionals that are not trying to get you into a date. They actually want to contribute to your growth, and that is so valuable for me.
And can you share who that amazing person is? I don't know if you said.
Veronica Meter.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll definitely give her a shout out and when I share this again. Yeah, and I just want to highlight the fact that you can meet people lots of different ways in the digital sphere, and I think that doesn't mean you can't build real relationships. And no matter where you might meet someone, whether it's in the metaverse or in LinkedIn or Instagram or Clubhouse or wherever it may be, if they're like-minded and you are open to having a mutual beneficial relationship with people, it can be really. I met people from who I've never met, and then I've gotten to know them, and then it can really turn into something that's really meaningful and valuable. And I think some people think, social media, it's all fluff, and but it's not always the case. And there are people that you can really. What I love about all these things, it's an opportunity to connect. and then
Yes.
see if you share the right values and the things, and then find out whether or not you want to take it beyond that kind of one level of the relationship, and then step it up depending on. So I love that. Now I've
Yeah.
got a few silly questions. Well, not silly, but lighthearted questions.
Okay.
So I am obsessed with purple, as many people know about me. So do you have a favorite color?
My favorite color is white.
White.
You know,
Okay.
it's funny because my daughter was making these towels for her birthday because we're going on a trip, and she asked, we're going in a group. I'm taking a group of her friends on a trip, and she asked everybody for a color so she can make these towels. And she goes, "Mom, what is your favorite color?" And I go, "White." And she goes, "Seriously?" Like, they wanted all these different colors, and I come up with white. But you know, there is something about white that I love. It's light, it's clean, it's fresh, it's crispy, it's a blank canvas. You can create anything when you have a blank canvas. There is so many things I like about white. It gives me um, peace. Sometimes I wish my mind would be blind so that I don't have white, so I don't have to, think. But I
Clarity.
like
Give
the way.
clarity.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's interesting. I just interviewed for my podcast an artist who only works in black and white. And I was like,
Hmm.
well, why not color? And she said, well, there's something about the lack of color that the art kind of has to speak for itself.
Yeah.
And I
It's
think
an
there's
instruction.
definitely something, in terms of the purity of just, here's what it is. And when we develop and design logos, we always often do it in black and white first, because if you fall in love with your logo in black and white, then you'll love it with the colors, generally speaking. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. And so white is, and I like that, in design, they talk a lot about white space, and that you
Hmm.
need that white space in order to highlight anything else that's there. And I think there is a tendency sometimes to just try and fill everything with, colors and patterns. And it's some of the
Yeah.
most beautiful designs are the simple,
Well,
clean.
less is more, less is more sometimes.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, so if I create animated videos for people, if I was
Hmm.
creating one for Claudia, and you wanted people to remember one thing, what would that one thing be? What would the message that you want to share in that video?
I think that if I would make an animated video, I would try to show that after every breakdown, you have a breakthrough. Oftentimes we stop in the breakdown and we think this is the end. And I would try to show in animation, because it would be easier for people to understand that
Mm.
there are so many possibilities, after a breakdown, because you really have to come to terms with what the problem is when you break down. And then you can see the possibilities that come out of it.
That's awesome. I think that could be really powerful. Uh, Finally, I want to ask you. So, in the pantheon of animation, there's movies and TVs, and there's lots of animated characters. If you had
Hmm.
to pick one that you really liked, who would that character be?
It definitely will be Fred Flintstone. I love him. I love him for so many reasons. I mean, number one, he reminds me of my dad, but also the character itself, how silly, but at the same time how there is always a message there, and the family oriented, um how much he loves Vilma, and all that, the whole thing about the Flintstones. I always loved it. It brought me to my childhood, and it always makes me smile, and the whole dynamic with Barney. I mean, I just love Fred Flintstone.
It's funny when you said it, I immediately started smiling. I think there's
Yeah.
something about his character that's lovable because
Yes.
he's simple and real and authentic. Um,
Yes.
Yeah, I like that answer. No one's given that before, so and I'm a fan
Leave it to
I grew up
leave
with
it
it.
to the Latin girl.
No, I think it's great. And, it's great. So I want to thank you, Claudia. You've been amazing. I really enjoyed learning about you and what you do. Um, and I'm just grateful for this conversation. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, and take care. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Bye, everyone.